So while there may not be an official client list to be released, as the administration is now saying, there's a lot of extra information that is not being made public.
Our next guest says that this is all hurting Donald Trump and the credibility of the Department of Justice. And joining us now for more is author of Confronting Evil, out in September, and host of No Spin News, Bill O'Reilly. Bill, it's great to have you back.
And thanks for having me in, Rob.
What do you think happened here? Because a month ago, it felt like we were going to get a lot more information. It felt like we were going to get the truth at some point from this administration. Now, it feels like a cover-up. What do you think happened?
Yeah, it's not a good look, that's for sure. On St. Patrick's Day, I was in the White House, and I talked to President Trump about this. And we were also talked about the Kennedy assassination files and Martin Luther King. And his take was similar to mine, that you get as much out as possible. But unlike a guy like Jake Tapper, who's really not reporting the truth, there's a reason you have to be cautious here. Because any name attached to Epstein, even if it were somebody who had a drink with him sometime, if your name's attached to his name, you're through. And your enemies will use that to destroy your entire life. So the federal government has to be very careful about context, because the media, it doesn't care about context. And on both sides, right and left, they're looking for people to destroy with an association to Epstein. But this is not hard to disarm that. And that's the conundrum that I can't figure out. So all Pam Bondi has to do is hold a press conference and say, this is what we know. But she doesn't have to put names out. And she can explain to the press, just as I'd explain to you, why you can't destroy people. Now, if somebody is under active criminal investigation, that's different. Then you can put their name out. But if they're just mentioned in some kind of a report, you can't. So that's where we are. Now, why Donald Trump doesn't tell Bondi, hey, get out there and answer the questions generally, and if you can't answer a question, explain why, I don't know. And one more thing. The person who should be sitting right beside Bondi is Merrick Garland, the Attorney General under Joe Biden.
Right.
He had that stuff for 4 years. 4 years. Where's he?
Do you buy any of this notion that Donald Trump was on the list?
No, why would I do that? There's no evidence that says that.
And Merrick Garland would have released it, right?
Yeah. Why would any fair-minded person even think about something like that with no backup?
Bill, I hate to be, tinfoil hatty right now, but they made this happen, all right? Conspiracy theories, that we need new ones because the old ones all came true, the old saying. Do you buy any of this notion that really powerful people, and I'm talking about some of the most powerful people on this planet in the last 50 years, played a role in burying this story, burying the truth when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and the people, whoever they are, that he was allegedly trafficking these young girls to? Do you think they got to somebody at DOJ or the FBI or maybe the president himself and made this story go away?
Yeah, I don't waste my time on stuff like that, Rob, because I don't have any information indicating that. I do know that in Florida, the authorities did not prosecute Epstein correctly. And there, that's a fact. Now, there hasn't been any charges of bribery or anything like that. But Epstein got a very soft touch in Florida when this whole first thing broke. And so that is a fact. But again, you got a guy like Tapper on CNN who basically distorts pretty much everything he says.
Correct.
And he goes, well, the autopsy wasn't released. That's false. The autopsy was released, and it said clearly that the man committed suicide. That's what it said. So, you listen to the reports, they stoke this kind of conspiracy stuff because it's good for ratings. I'm sure there'll be a book that does crazy conspiracy stuff that'll make some money. But for me, as a real hardcore old school journalist, I don't consider stuff unless there is evidence.
Yeah.
It's just not right to do.
No, I know.
Look,
but Bill, you know as well as I do that when this stuff festers and when we get this Sunday night news drop, instead of, to your point, a press conference where Pam Bondi standing beside Kash Patel and maybe Dan Bongino and others address what they know in an honest, upfront way, when you get a Sunday night, 4th of July weekend, 7 p.m. news dump to a left-leaning website, it just kind of stinks. And then when you get the Brennan Comey news yesterday, to me, it feels like a shell game. It feels like, hey, look here, not there. Follow that story now, not the Epstein story. Where are you on Pam Bondi resigning?
No, I'm not going to condemn Pam Bondi because she takes orders from the White House. She doesn't make unilateral decisions. She does what she's told to do. That's the way President Trump runs the administration. None of the cabinet heads make independent decisions. They all come out of the West Wing and the White House, all of them. So, you know, you could sacrifice her,
right,
but it is a bad look for Donald Trump. You can't justify not being more upfront about a case that's captured the attention of millions of Americans.
Bill, just about 25 seconds left. I read your newsletter this morning, and I'm just wondering, have you talked to the president since the news dropped on Sunday?
No. I have not. And I got big things to talk to him about more important than this. But my advice, and I know he hears it, is to have a press conference with Bondi and Merrick Garland. And if Garland won't show up, put a picture of him sitting next to Bondi.
Right.
And answer the questions, what do you know, in a general way.
I hope something like that ends up happening. Bill O'Reilly, great to have you back on. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.